Hi friends, welcome back. So Elon Musk and Tesla are ghosting India. Yes, you heard that right. They're essentially making promises they can't keep, and when they can't keep them, they just run away. That's the subject of today's video, and it's always fun to talk about Tesla and Elon Musk because essentially it captures the milieu and the culture of our current markets. And moreover, there's always some crazy drama going on with this thing. Let's read some more headlines of this. India's hopes for Tesla investment cool as Musk ceases contact. So again, they're ghosting India. And when we read some details about this, it may have something to do with Tesla's financial situation. It says here, India doesn't expect Tesla to move forward with an investment in the country anytime soon after executives at Elon Musk carmaker stopped contacting them, right? They just quit calling, according to people familiar with the matter. Musk's team hasn't made any further inquiries with officials in New Delhi after the billionaire postponed a visit to India in late April. And if you guys know, instead of going to India, he rushed over to China because I'm sure there's some sort of deal made. And we know there was a deal, but we don't know like all of the details of that stuff because again, you probably have to ask Elon Musk. These kind of things are done behind closed doors. Says here, the people said asking not to be identified because they're not authorized to speak publicly. The government is given to understand that Tesla has capital issues, this would be money problems, and doesn't plan on pledging a fresh investment into India in the near future. And I was thinking about this. What's going on with Tesla and Elon Musk? Why do they have capital issues? Could it be that Elon Musk's 12 kid, yes, this was on June 25th, 12 kid, could this be part of the problem? It might be. And in fact, he may have more kids than this. And I bet you, 100% I bet you, Elon Musk doesn't even know how many kids he's got out there. And if you've seen Game of Thrones, this is a thing. There's just all kinds of kids out there. And then maybe they, years from now, they'll come and try to get the throne of Tesla and say, I'm the legitimate kid. No, I'm the legitimate kid, but we'll see. I think probably this more has to do with Tesla's deliveries going down. And one of the things that I always tell you guys on this channel is like, look at numbers, right? Look at facts. This is stuff that matters. If you look at the Tesla fanboys and fangirl channels, they basically say, no. Don't look at numbers. Don't look at facts. Just think about Elon's promises and stories. That's the most important thing, and I disagree. I think when your deliveries go down for a couple quarters, was this one now down 4% in the last quarter? I think it matters because if you believe, and this depends on your view on the market, but if you believe when you invest in a company that you're investing in growth, and if you believe that growth matters, meaning that numbers matter, then you should pay attention to this stuff. Other people say, no, these things don't matter, numbers don't matter, just talk about Elon's promises and robots. Another thing that too I thought was kind of interesting, there's another headline, Tesla Model X, S and X sales are crashing, and Tesla is hiding it. And the basic gist of it is they did the math over there and a little bit of guesswork, so you have to guess on these things, and I'll tell you why. And this is coming from Electrotech. They're saying there could be a major declines, in the 30% realm, according to these are estimates of what's happening with the Model S and X sales. The reason why we say estimates is because Tesla has been doing this for a long time now. When they report deliveries, they'll say Model 3 and Y and combine those numbers. And then when you talk about their other models, be it their Cybertruck, their S or their X, they just call it other models and then combine those numbers. So we don't actually have the breakdown. And so why would you do this is because you're probably trying to hide something, and that's just something that Tesla does. Not that many car makers do this kind of thing. And I mentioned this several times on the channel, and I understand fanboys and fangirls, they live off in their own fantasy world. But the reason why is because they always say, oh, but Chris, the Y is the best selling car in the world. And maybe it could be, that's certainly possible, but I don't know because Tesla doesn't tell me. I don't know. Their official numbers, they don't break it down. Elon Musk says it's true. And then all the fanboys and fangirls repeat what Elon Musk says, but when it comes down to actual official reporting, we don't know. And one of the things that indicates why this matters, say, to the S or the X, is that they're in the upper end segments, right? Tesla's really losing out. I'll tell you guys, I made a video recently. You can check it out. It's called Hyundai Casper, Kia EV3, and BMW. We went to the Busan Auto Show here. They call it the Mobility Show. And actually, we drove a Genesis. And I can just tell you guys, Genesis are pretty nice cars. BMW is obviously a nice cars as well. And you got Mercedes and a whole bunch of other brands coming out. So Tesla's going to be losing out to the higher end. And then on the lower end, you got BYD eating their lunch, right? You guys know this, that they are putting out cheap electric cars. Plus, you have the Koreans coming up with Hyundai and the Kia, and this is sort of what I made the video on. And essentially, you're facing real competition. Now, the fanboys and fangirls say, no, Chris, we've been hearing these words about competition for years. And that might be true. But now it's actually here, right? You may be hearing about it in the past, but now it's here. Tesla was the first mover, but the second movers, right, have the advantage of learning from Tesla's mistakes. The other thing, too, which I want you to understand is that sometimes, this is just a reality, companies don't necessarily have your back. I'll give you an example. This is a real headline, guys, coming out July 5th. UC Berkeley study finds toxic metals in tampons. Yes, we're talking about toxic tampons, so be careful out there. I guess occasionally there's lead, arsenic, and cadmium in these types of tampons. Obviously then the companies say, no, we were trying to keep and looking out for you. But again, I always warn you guys, be careful what companies say. For example, JP Morgan, they're saying your free checking accounts may go away. The basic gist of it is the government, they want to put a cap on fees. I think it's something like $8 cap on credit card fee if you overdraft or overspend or go over your limit. I think that's a better way to say it. And I think the other cap was it's like a $3 cap on your checking, something like that. And then the bank is saying, well, if you're going to put caps on how much should we charge in fees, and you guys know these fees can be actually pretty high. ATM fees are another one that can be pretty high as well if you use a network ATM. And then the banks are going to say, well, we need to maintain profits to keep Wall Street happy. And so if we can't, charge you exorbitant, essentially fees, we're going to essentially charge you more fees on your checking account. So keep an eye out for that. I mention all of these things, guys, because I want you to be really clear on these things. Is don't necessarily trust what people say, especially these big corporations that essentially get rich off, making you promises. Trust what they do. And also to look at numbers. So here's an example. Remember, Elon Musk was making all these promises to India to invest in them. And then what does he do, right? What's his action? He runs to China, makes some sort of deal and says, hey guys, all cars are going to be electric. And then you get this coming out. This is coming out today. This is a really odd headline. And honestly, I didn't think we would see this so quickly, but we are. Read the headline. Tesla is now an official Chinese government car. And this is fascinating because this comes at a time, if you've been following the story, there was a time when the Chinese government was actually banning iPhones. And I'm not sure if they still are, but they were doing that. I remember hearing about that. And also too saying, hey, we're going to be banning Teslas off government property because we're worried about the cameras, etc. Elon Musk makes some sort of deal with China. And now suddenly the Chinese government has made it official that you can actually buy Teslas with Chinese government money. This is it right here. China, eager to show it's open to non-Chinese brands, puts Tesla on the government procurement list for the first time. The other brand on there was Volvo, but that's not quite exactly foreign because it's owned by Geely, right? And this is the case that they're going to make with Tesla. They say, well, it's not exactly foreign because they make these cars in Shanghai, right? There's a factory there. And this also gets into the issue of when Tesla, which is an American manufacturer, right? But they manufacture the cars in China. And then when they send those to Europe, are those going to be categorized as Chinese cars when Europe does their tariffs? Now, my understanding is the answer to that question is yes at the moment. But we'll see. I hear there's negotiations going on behind closed doors. Again, this stuff gets really, really tricky when you talk about these things because people will say certain things in public, but then behind closed doors, other things happen. And also, too, put this together with what's going on recently in the news. Unemployment is ticking up to 4.1%. This is actually a pretty big story because I've been warning you guys about this stuff. Always be looking out for yourself first, right? Don't necessarily trust Lord Elon to save you. Don't trust the U.S. government to save you. Don't trust the U.K. government to save you, right? Because sometimes people go to the polls and they think, oh, if I vote for said politician, they're going to save me. You have to look out for yourself. I'm just telling you the truth on these things, guys. And this is also, too, why be very, very careful if you are an investor investing in individual stocks because companies may misrepresent sort of like their condition or their future plans. So let me give you an example of how things can be misrepresented. Tesla, it was showing their robot in China. They're at some sort of the China AI conference. And there's a bunch of companies there. And my understanding, I think it's like 18 companies all have these humanoid robots, right? So, the fanboys and fangirls over, for Tesla, they say, oh, Tesla's the only one who makes robots and they're so awesome. And the other thing that was kind of weird about this, and I always make fun of those people because they live in this weird fantasy land, is for whatever reason, the Optimus, that's Tesla's bot, was behind glass. You guys can explain that to me. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with this thing. Maybe it can barely stand. Who knows? The other ones are not behind glass, but the Tesla one was. The other thing that was kind of interesting about this as well is they were talking about cost. Yeah, it says total of 18 robots. So I guess it would be maybe 17 Chinese-made robots and then one American robot, which would be the Tesla one. But the thing that was really interesting about this is that they were talking to an engineer about cost. And one engineer said that the cost of a humanoid robot on the lower end could be around $70,000, and then the higher end could be around $140,000. Okay, just give you an idea. So when I hear these kind of numbers, I can say, okay, from my personal view, that sounds realistic because I've heard that the robot dog, this is Boston Dynamics over there, and it's owned by Hyundai. They can make a robot dog for I say they can sell it for 75, something like that. And this is where the numbers get kind of fuzzy. Is this the cost of you're selling it? Is this the cost that you're making it? But point being, these things aren't cheap. However, Elon Musk is saying, no, we're gonna sell our Optimus robots for 30,000 or even more. I was looking at older articles, I guess, when Elon Musk was talking about his robot compared to Boston Dynamics, that he was making promises that they were going to sell it for 20,000. It just doesn't add up, guys. I mean, and I get it. I get it more than you know. If you turn into the Tesla fanboy and fangirl channels, they'll just tell you, oh, Elon's so smart. He's so awesome. Look at all the awesome things he does. He's going to make this robot available to everyone. They're going to sell it for 20K. But then, when I look at Boston Dynamics, they're like, well, the humanoid robot one's probably going to be more around 150. And this is another article, and this corroborates with the article that we just got out today of the engineer in China saying, yeah, it costs probably more like 70 to 150. It just makes more sense to me, and plus I just can't trust anything Elon says. but it is what it is, right? I give you guys another example and the reason why I point this stuff out is because I just want you to be always cautious of when people are selling you pipe dreams, right? If it's too good to be true, then it probably is. For example, this came out today, July 5th, 2024. SunPower plunges as auditor resigns. That was from Ernst & Young. And they're under some sort of SEC investigation. This was some sort of solar power company. The stock obviously has tanked. I say obviously because when you're not telling people the truth, these kind of things happen. And this is the world that we live in. Again, you guys got to look out for yourself. Unemployment's ticking up, and this is something that is always a difficult conversation to have with you because I know that the way sort of many YouTube channels or media or Wall Street say hey when things are going to look bad, be it the market or whatever, the Fed's just going to cut rates and suddenly everything will be great. And I say not so fast. Essentially they raise rates because we're trying to control inflation, also too, reprinting or reburning cash, meaning that do we want to put more money in the system or do we want to take money out? If we're worried about controlling prices, right, because prices keep going up on many things, or prices remain elevated, or another way to think about it is that your wages, your wage gains haven't kept up with price increases. What do you do? And essentially, in my opinion, you should sort of cut the money supply, cut off the faucet because we got to get things under control. But we live in a particular system, and this is just how it is. To where everyone's trying to promise you things. So I'll give you an example. No matter which party's in power, I'm talking about the USA here and talking about politics, the Democrats will say, hey guys, everything's gonna be great. We're gonna offer you all these awesome programs, and all these awesome programs are gonna save you, right? So I'm not against programs by any means. I mean, I understand that certain things you need to have in place, but I also understand that math matters, right? You can't spend more than you take in, but that's essentially how a government takes. Now on the other side, Republicans will say, well, what we got to do to make everything better is we need to cut taxes and cut regulations. And then you run into a whole other problem, right? So they're still going to be spending money, right? Maybe not giving so many promises to the Democrats, but when you're cutting taxes, you're bringing in less money and you're creating deficits that way. No matter which way you go, you're going to have problems. And I'll give you an example. It was interesting they're talking about the bank fee stuff. So right now, and this is the headlines where that the administration wants to limit input caps on bank fees. And you as a consumer, you have to ask yourself, okay, do I want to pay high bank fees or not? Chances are you probably don't want to pay them. Now, if you end up, say, going with the Trump side, right? And the Trump will say, oh, well, we're going to cut regulations and help business, et cetera. Basically, what that really means is that we're going to let businesses charge you whatever they want and exploit you that way. Point being, just don't expect any one particular party to be your savior, because one way or other, the rich people will figure out a way to exploit you. And unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in. And I know these get to be emotional things. Whenever you bring this kind of stuff up, people get mad, people get upset. And all I ever say, guys, is just look at numbers. So, for example, do you think Dior cares about you? They pay their workers $2 an hour. They make these bags for 57. Then they sell them to you for like 2,500. And that's a recent story that's been coming out. And when I see this unemployment stuff, I was reading about this. This is sort of something that really sort of we mentioned it before, but really captured my attention. Was they were saying that companies are trying, at least many companies are trying not to lay off people. They're also trying not to hire people, right? So this is like, you get this weird situation. And so what do? Is they end up just giving their current workers more work. And I was thinking about this, putting together with the AI stuff, is this would be a way for them to do that. Is like, okay, we're not going to hire anyone. You're going to keep your job, but you're going to have to work more. But hey, we'll give you a little bit of AI, and hopefully that'll keep up your productivity. Whether or not that works out remains to be seen. The other problem we have, and this has been sort of the theme of the markets, that AI is going to make everybody rich. Maybe for some people, I think this is a possibility. I say for some people, because I was looking at this, and this one really alarmed me. We were talking about U.S. unemployment at 4.1. In Canada, it's actually at 6.4. And I know we have Canadians that watch this channel. I would like to hear your guys' comments on this one. I did not realize it was this high. And in particular, that there's groups at the lower ends, and the articles are citing in particular numbers Black Canadians and South Asian Canadians are the ones that are struggling the most. And just, I'm sure there's all sorts of reasons for that. I'm not going to go too deep in that because I'm not Canadian, so no comment. But I'll just say, in any of these kind of situations, that there's always winners and losers. And my particular point of view on this stuff is, again, look out for yourself, because you can't necessarily expect any one person to save you except for you. And that's just the reality. And so what does that mean? I mean, it means that you save for a rainy day. It means you focus on having good job skills. It means that you invest in yourself and invest in the future. And also it means that you spend below your means, because you just don't know what's going to be happening out there. This particular world that we live in, and unfortunately, with social media, there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation there. And I always bring up the Tesla stuff because it's entertaining in the sense that, like, you have these people that live in this weird delusional fantasy land, but it's also sad because you have people living in this weird delusional fantasy land. And so I try my best to keep you guys all informed. And unfortunately, this is just the world that we live in. We live in a world where, companies make tampons with lead in it, or, people that pump out this crypto stuff all the time. And ultimately, though, the party will end. And it looks like now Bitcoin's at a 2-month low. I don't believe in this stuff. And I get it. People always ask me, Chris, I want to hear your opinion on Bitcoin. And it's like, my opinion is like, I think it's a bubble. I said that for years, and that the whole Tesla thing I think is a bubble as well. But this kind of stuff, ultimately, what it boils down to is these people try to make you use promises as much as they can, say in the situation, and then when they can't promise you anymore because essentially the gig is up, they just run away. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of these YouTube channels. It already has happened, but we'll take the example of the Graham Stephan thing, where he's like, hey guys, you're gonna be rich with this lottery bank thing. And then, the whole scandal breaks out, 85,000 people don't have their money, and he goes silent. And that's how these kind of people treat you. So be careful out there, guys. Take care of yourself. I always appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.